Ooh, I got my Chelseas. I can't wait to review them. Oh! Demon Trish? I thought we killed you like 3 times. Oh, frick! A ghost? Oh, who am I gonna call? Oh, I know. Yeah, Secretary Stase, we have a bit of a ghost problem. I'm gonna need you here in the collection room, like, ASAP.
I'm on the way.
Oh, thank goodness you're here. What are we gonna do about this, Demon Trish ghost?
Have no fear, Mayor Aaron. I've been working on this nuclear-powered proton pack, just in case we ever had this problem. It will neutralize the target.
Oh, perfect plan. And once you have her neutralized, I have a lot of questions to ask her. I'm gonna get a bit closer.
Here goes nothing. Oops. It appears I may have to do some fine-tuning on my nuclear-powered proton pack. I think the proton beam is currently a little too strong.
No. I think you, I think pretty much solved the problem. Oh, to my mouth. Oh. Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. To get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Now today I am super excited to review the brand new Main Event Series 156 Chelsea Green, both the standard and the chase versions. Now let's just cut to the chase. These figures sold out rather quickly on ringsidecollectibles.com and they were priced very high. Now the reason being, and this is just through thought and what I think, is when there's a lower quantity of something on Ringside Collectibles, the price goes way up. So these women's main event figures that have been very pricey on the website, that tells me that the quantity is lower. So I think Mattel is short packing these women's main event figures. It is a whole issue, a whole topic. It deserves its own video, and that'll be coming very soon, but let's stay positive because I'm really happy to have these Chelseas here to review today. So without further ado, let's take a look at the packaging. So let's start off with the packaging. Now obviously the packaging is the same for the Chase on the left and the standard release on the right. So we are just going to look closely at the packaging of just one of them. So, I actually really like this main event packaging. I like that they rebranded the series to the main event line. I think it adds some character to the figures, and it makes them feel more special than just calling them basic figures, right? So, I really love the rebranding of the main event line here. I love the package design. I love the colors. I love how almost half of the package is an image of the superstar. And here we have the stunning and talented and super sweet, I got to meet her in person, Chelsea Green. We have the series number, her name, and then, like I said, that nice open window. We do have more of an open window on the main event line than the elite line, which is a little crazy. Back of the package here, we have her classified as a grappler. We have her signature move, the I'm Prettier. And then we have the rest of the line here. So, yeah, the packaging in the main event line, 2 thumbs up. I'm a big fan, and it's actually a decently durable cardboard, unlike the Elite line where that cardboard is like tissue paper thin. So I really do like the main event line packaging, and as I mentioned, I like the rebranding of the basics into the main event series. Now, with that being said, let's open it up and take a closer look, and we will start off with this standard version. WWE Main Event Series 156 Chelsea Green Standard Release. This attire is from the March 14th, 2024 episode of Main Event, in which Chelsea defeated Natalya. Some overall first impressions of this figure. The inner Ghostbusters fan in me is just coming out of my soul. I mean, it is so cool that we have Chelsea in Ghostbusters themed attire. This is so cool, and it makes sense since Mattel makes Ghostbusters figures, so I'm so glad to have this in figure form. Now, there are some details that they could have made better, they could have added. For example, the green should have been like a metallic or a glittery type green that would have made it more Chelsea-esque. However, how it stands, I think it looks really cool. And shout out to Matt Cardona, Chelsea's husband, who I think played a part in this gear. You know, he is the indie god. He is known for really rebranding himself, and not only that, but bringing a large community of wrestling figure collectors together. So shout out to Matt Cardona, Chelsea's husband, for all he does, not just for wrestling figures, but in the world of wrestling. But yeah, my first impressions are really good. Now, the one bad thing I'm going to say, and when they posted images of this Chelsea on Ringside Collectibles, I said, there's no way that you can make the shush, that you can do the Chelsea shush where she holds her finger up to her mouth. And I was right. Like, you can look at it from this angle, and there we go. It kind of, yeah, there we go. It looks like it. But look at this. I mean, the articulation on these women's main event figures are really dumbed down, and the articulation is horrendous. I wish they would go back to the earlier Mattel Basics where the women's basic figures had elite style articulation. I really wish we would go back to that. But to be honest with you, when you're looking at it like this, it actually looks pretty good. It's just when you look at it from different angles, it's like she's E.T. trying to phone home there with the finger in the air. So a little bizarre, but it is cool that we do have that unique hand. And my finger on this one is a little crooked, so I'll probably heat it up and try to straighten it. But yeah, my first impressions of the standard release, I mean, I love it. It really does make me happy. So as far as the face sculpt, face scan, and hair sculpt goes, this was previously used on her Elite Series 108 figure, and I prefer this over her Basic Series 122, which was her first figure. Now, I know there are a lot of people out there that prefer that Basic Series 122 face sculpt and scan, but I like this one. A lot of people say it looks like Carmella. I don't see that whatsoever. I think it does look like Chelsea. Is it perfect? I don't think it really is, but I think it's a pretty good likeness, and I love the detail that did go into the sculpt and scan. So I'm glad that they used this one and not her very first face sculpt and scan, which we will do a side-by-side comparison later. So you can let me know in the comments when I do that which sculpt and scan you prefer. But I like this one. Now on the standard release, we do have this, I guess, chestnut dark brown type hair. Now remember, I am colorblind, so let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. And what's really cool is this is a detail you really couldn't tell on the Elite, and I'll show you that later. She has little braids going throughout her sculpt. You can see on the right side of her head there and on the left, and that's really hard to notice on the Elite, but it looks really good here. And I really do love this color. I think it looks good. And this is kind of the color I tried to go with that Statue of Liberty Chelsea that I made, kind of the logo of the channel here. So I could do a head swap, but I'm going to keep that as it is so I can keep this as it is. So I really like the hair there. And as I mentioned, I like the face sculpt and scan. I like how the lips are very full. We got some lip gloss on there. The eyeshadow makeup is good and the eyebrows are good. Also, I think the sculpt is pretty good. Now, like I said, there's a big mix of people out there that either love or hate the sculpt and scan, and I understand because in my opinion it's not perfect, but I think it's pretty good. Now let's move on to what really stands out, and that's the attire. So as far as the body sculpt and attire goes, I think they did a good job with part choices here. I think the body sculpt looks pretty darn good, and the attire is obviously what really stands out. Now what's really cool about Chelsea's very first figure, that basic Series 122, and also this one, is we have her unique boot style. And not only that, we have knee pads underneath that boot style, and that's really, really cool. On her first figure that came out, the knee pads underneath were just painted, but these are separate pieces, so I really, really like that detail, and I love that they put the attention and care on giving her her unique boot sculpt, but we'll get to that. The rest of the body part choices are... they work. You know, I don't think they're perfect, but I do think they look good. And especially considering the main event line, or previously known as the basic line, has really dumbed down the detailing that's put into the women's figures. And that's a shame. I hope one day they go back to the old days where they used to put a lot of attention into sculpting work into the women's main event figures. But as it stands now, pretty much you get, you know, one of a few different style bodies, and the attire is just painted on. Now here with Chelsea at work, she wears very tight attire, so it works well here. Now starting with that top, yes, we do have that Ghostbusters inspired attire that looks great. We have the border with the red just painted on. There's really no sculpting work in the chest except in the middle here, which is okay because it simulates that she is wearing a top, so that's very, very good. We have green and red on her chest, which is cool. We have this green slime kind of dripping down there on the front of the attire, and it even comes around the back. Now, that is one of my complaints, is this green could have been like a metallic green or a sparkly green, something to make it more like what the attire actually looked like. Also, it would Chelsea-ize this figure. It would make it more Chelsea if it did have that metallic or that shine to it, in my opinion. Now, the arm sleeves are painted on, but they're painted on with good detail. We have that green slime dripping on the black, and we have a little bit of red that goes through her hand. The bottoms are really, really cool because the waistband is kind of the ghost trap caution type design there, and it goes all the way around with the red trim. We have that green dripping down on the black going around the bottoms of the attire. And as I mentioned, we have these uniquely sculpted boots that are Chelsea's. It is what she wears. And on top of that, we have these green knee pads that are a separate piece that are underneath. Now, I can't tell. Yeah, I don't think they're attached to the boots. I think they're just slid down there, but that's really, really cool, and I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Now, something else to keep in mind is the tattoo detail here, because it's really hard to notice just looking at this figure, but you really have to look close. Like, for example, on her finger, if we can focus, we have the shh on her finger, which is very, very cool. Now, on the back of her right tricep, we have a tattoo detail. Now, it is kind of overlapping on the sleeve, but that's probably just how mine was printed on there. And I think that is all the tattoo detail that we have here. Just doing a quick inspection. And yeah, so as far as the body sculpt and attire goes, the body sculpt works just fine. I really love the inclusion of the unique personalized boot sculpts that we have gotten previously with her, and the attire is beautiful. It really does stand out, but I do think it could be a little bit better with the metallic type application of the paint for the green. WWE Main Event Series 156 Chelsea Green Chase version. This attire is from the June 19th, 2023 episode of Raw. On this night, the team of Chelsea and Sonya Deville would lose to the team of Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. Alright, some overall first impressions of this chase. Y'all, this reminds me of Owen Hart. I'm talking like 1998-ish Owen Hart with the caution gear. I mean, it really does come across as an Owen Hart tribute figure, in my opinion. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily what she was going for, because she did have matching attire with her tag team partner, Sonya Deville, at the time. But that's just what it reminds me of, with the yellow and the black and the blonde hair. It looks kind of cool. I kind of like that aspect. Now, putting the cool aside, this attire is not very accurate to what the actual attire looked like, as I just showed. You know, the middle, the chest has an opening in the real attire, and there's a lot more detail in that real attire compared to this main event figure. So I will say that I think they could have chosen a better attire that would look better in this chase form. It would have been cool, even if we just got her in all green with a headpiece or something to give us that Statue of Liberty Chelsea type look, or maybe just in a t-shirt and jeans, something like that. I wish they would have gone for, because as it stands as wrestling attire, it's missing a lot of detail, y'all. It really is. But with that being said, I do think it's cool, and let's take a closer look at that face sculpt, face scan, and hair, because the hair is drastically different between this and the standard release. Oh, y'all, I love this hair. I absolutely love this hair. So, okay, the face sculpt and scan is the exact same. The hair sculpt is the exact same. All of that is the same between the standard and this chase version here. Also, her previous two elites, Series 108. However, the hair coloring is what really is different as far as the head between the standard and this chase. And the hair coloring isn't just a blonde, it's like a gold. I actually think it looks beautiful. I love the gold color to it. Now, I've said this for a long time, and Mattel has really been doing such a better job with the hair coloration on their women's figures. For a long time, they just made one solid color on the women's figures for the hair color, and they started doing highlights or making it look a little more lifelike, adding some root colors and whatnot. I mean, look at Chelsea's previous Elite, and you'll know what I'm talking about. And as far as the blonde goes, this reminds me of the Maxine Dupree main event figure that had like a goldish color blonde. And I love it. I mean, it is like a metallic type gold, but I actually think it looks really, really cool, and it really pops and stands out. And I'm glad they did that, because I feel like they could have just as easily given it the color that's on the attire, the yellow, and that would have looked terrible. So I actually really like the hair color here. I love that it's like a goldish blonde. I really do like the hair color. I'm actually pleasantly surprised having this in front of me, how the hair looks. Now let's go down to what's really different between this and the standard, and that's the attire. So yeah, the body sculpt is the same between the standard and this chase version. Obviously, that's how it always is. The only difference here is, besides the hair color, the attire that is applied to this body sculpt. So it is very, very drastically different than the standard release. This is just black with yellow trim, kind of a yellow design pattern around. Now, starting with the chest here, we can see that it is a black undercolor, kind of a base color with yellow designs painted across, and a yellow strap going over her shoulder. Coming around the back, that yellow strap does connect to the back, and there is a lot of nice detail back here that they could have just left blank. So at least they added some yellow detail here. Even though it's not very accurate, it should be open in the front, in the chest there. And yeah, so moving on down to the arms, we have this black sleeve painted on with yellow trim at the top, a little yellow design. The black goes up in the hands. And on the right arm, we have a shorter type gauntlet looking thing with black and yellow trim, and the black goes in the hands. We have the, there we go, we have the tattoo on the finger, and we do have that tattoo on the back of the tricep there. Moving on down to the bottoms, they are just a plain black color with that yellow design, yellow trim kind of going around throughout. The boots are that unique Chelsea sculpt that are all black, and then we have black knee pads underneath. So yeah, even though, as I mentioned, this attire is not actually very accurate to what the attire actually looked like, if you compare the image when I put this figure on the turntable, I think it does look pretty cool. And like I said, it actually reminds me of like an Owen Hart tribute figure, and I don't think that's the direction that her and Sonya were going with when they wore this attire. But to me, Owen being one of my all-time favorite men's wrestlers, I don't know, I can't help but think about Owen when I'm looking at this attire. And yeah, I don't know, I actually really, really like this figure. I think it's very cool. All right, so let's do a side-by-side between these two figures, and then we'll bring in some of her previous figures in the next segment here. So on the left, we have the standard release, and on the right, we have the chase. Now, as of now, these are not available on Ringside. I'm sure if they go up on eBay, they're going to be very, very expensive. So whether it's worth the price or not, that's going to be up to you. Now, I do think if you're a women's wrestling figure collector, Or if you're a fan of Ghostbusters, you need to try to find a way to get this standard release. Now, I would wait until it pops up in stores. I think it's going to be way more plentiful than this Chase version. Now, this Chase version, if it pops up on eBay, for example, or comes back in stock on Ringside, doubtfully, I would pick it up because it is a very unique, very cool figure of Chelsea. And out of all of Chelsea's figures, we don't have any that look like this, that have that goldish color in the hair. So I think as a Chase, it's a pretty cool figure and one that I would definitely try to get. And you might have to pay a little extra to get it, unfortunately. But if you're a fan of Chelsea, I do think it is worth it. But if you're going to choose one between these two, I would go with the standard because I think it's going to be a little bit easier to find, especially when this series starts hitting store shelves. So check your stores. And also if it comes back on ringsidecollectibles.com. But yeah, as you can see side by side, they do look very different as far as the hair color goes and the attire. Looking at it from all different angles, but as far as which one pops, I mean, you got to go with the standard, the Ghostbusters themed attire. It looks awesome. Now, that being said, let me bring in her first in the line figure, Basic Series 122 and also Elite Series 108. Let's do some comparing. So I just got to show this off real quick. So Chelsea Green is one of the few women's wrestlers that I actually got the pleasure of meeting all the way back SummerSlam weekend 2022. She was super kind, super sweet, and I was ecstatic to meet her and to get this figure signed. This is her first in the line figure, Basic Series 122, and this is the Chase version in the all black, and I absolutely love how the signature came out in the purple. I think it's beautiful. It might be my favorite signed figure in my collection. I just think it's an absolute gorgeous signature, and Chelsea's so cool. So this is a very sentimental piece in my collection. I just had to show y'all because this figure definitely means a lot to me. Now, let's do the comparison between all of her figures. Now, this 122 figure, as I just showed, does have a Chase that's in all black. Also, Elite Series 108 does have a Chase that's in the pinkish type orange kind of color fade. But just for space purposes, I'm just going to use the standard release of Basic 122 in the standard Elite Series 108 so we can compare here. So yeah, on the far left, we have Chelsea's first in the line figure that when it came out, I thought it was great. I thought it looked like her. But comparing it to the Sculpt and Scan that, in my opinion, was upgraded when her Elite came out, I'm not a huge fan of how that face Sculpt and Scan looks. And what we'll do is we'll zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. So there's a big debate out there with wrestling figure collectors, and the big debate is, which sculpt or scan do you think resembles Chelsea more? And I could see both arguments, honestly. Like, I think the face looks a little better on her first in the line figure, but they did her dirty with the forehead and the hair doesn't look very good. So I actually prefer this Sculpt and Scan on the right. But I think for a first time in the line figure, they did a great job here. But there are some things like proportions that are a little off. So let me know in the comments which face Sculpt and Scan you like. If we could get a combination of this face Sculpt and Scan with this hair, I think it would be near perfect. But I digress. So looking at her figures here, you can see that they're all very different, even when you look at the Chase versions. Now, my favorite Chelsea figure, I mean, it's this one by far, and it's just because I have it signed. It is a Chase, and I don't know. I just think it's a beautiful figure with the way the attire is on there, and I like the cleanness of the all black, and there goes the Elite. But obviously, out of all these figures, which one stands out? I mean, Elite Series 108 stands out because we have this hat, and we have this soft goods skirt, which really does stand out. And on top of that, the attire is a lot more realistic to what her attire actually looks like. We have an opening on the chest there, and there's a lot of paint detail throughout. Now, as far as the main event slash basic figures, you know, these two I'm looking at today are very different than her original first in the line figures. However, I like that they're very different and the attire is very unique. You know, there's a lot more design going on in today's figures that we're covering compared to her first in the line figures, but those were cool on their own because we have this metallic purple with pink accents, which is very different than a Ghostbuster themed attire or all black with yellow trim. So I think all of her figures are very, very cool. I might have to do a figure evolution video of Chelsea. And another cool fact is, every line that Chelsea has been released in, you know, Basic Series 122, Elite Series 108, and here today, Main Event Series 156, she actually got a standard and a Chase. So I think that is so cool. So she's had 6 figures so far, and I would love to do an evolution video here. So yeah, I just wanted to show you all of Chelsea's figures together. All right, so let's do a cool little fix up. Now, I have a couple extra soft goods skirts and hats. And actually, if you put this skirt on this Ghostbusters Chelsea and you put the hat, you automatically upgrade the figure, in my opinion. So if you have multiple Chelseas, you have some extra soft goods from that Elite Chelsea and you put it on this main event figure, it looks pretty freaking awesome, honestly. I really like how this looks. Just a reminder that my main event scoring scale is different than my Elite scoring scale. So these are scored based off of other women's main event figures. Now, that being said, I give WWE Main Event Series 156 standard version of Chelsea Green an overall score of an 8 out of 10. This figure is awesome. The fact that we got her in Ghostbusters inspired gear is freaking amazing. It is such a cool thing. Now, the reason it isn't scored higher is because they could have done a little better. What I mean by that is the green should have been a metallic green or a sparkly type green. If they just added that little detail, it would have made it a lot higher as far as the score goes. But as it stands, it's an awesome figure for wrestling figure collectors, for Chelsea Green collectors, for fans of Ghostbusters and wrestling. This figure is freaking awesome. Now, that being said, I give WWE Main Event Series 156 Chelsea Green Chase version an overall score of a 6 out of 10. So it definitely went down quite a few points between the standard and the chase. And the main reason being, I think there's other looks they could have gone with on this chase that would have made it a more desirable figure. I think by choosing just a different attire that is meant to match Sonya, who was recently released, kind of a head scratcher. Maybe in the future they planned on releasing Sonya in that matching attire, and that would have been cool, and I'm thinking that was probably the plan. But as it stands, this attire by itself is kind of boring. It's missing a lot of unique details that the attire actually look like, but it is an above average figure in my opinion because the likeness is good. I think it's cool we have that unique hand, and I actually like the metallic gold hair. I just think it's cool, even though it's not that accurate if you look at what her hair actually looked like. I don't know, I think it's different, unique, and it's definitely cool. So yeah, I definitely think the standard version is the one to get out of these two. However, if you're able to acquire this chase for a good price, I would also get the chase because it is drastically different than the standard. Thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. To get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Also, head on over to ringsidecollectibles.com and use coupon code LJV at checkout to save 10% on your next order or pre-order of women's wrestling figures. Now, the next women's wrestling figures that are supposed to be here this month are the Powhatan figures of Jordynne Grace and Medusa. I'm not holding my breath. It's been kind of radio silent on their end, but I'm really excited to get those figures and review them and see if the wait is actually worth it. Other than that, every Monday night we'll be doing an episode of LJV's Monday Night Classic Reviews where I go back in time and review a women's wrestling figure of the past. Thanks for watching tonight and have a great night, y'all.